Welcome to r/am I the butthole, where this guy wonders if he's the jerk for leaving his friends completely stranded 3 hours away from home. Am I the butthole for leaving my best friend and his friends stranded in an unfamiliar city? So, for background, my best friend has gotten into going to these Spartan races. Now, Spartan races are pretty much just endurance races with obstacles. He and a small group of his friends have started going to local ones, but recently heard about one in another state they wanted to go to and compete in, but they didn't have anywhere to stay. So they asked me if they could borrow my truck and trailer. I have a tow-behind camper for the weekend. I said no. I wasn't comfortable with them taking my truck and trailer, but that I would drive them and the camper to their events. We made the 3-hour trip and set everything up in the area where the race was taking place the next day. I have a habit of leaving my keys on a hook next to the door to my bedroom in my camper. Remember this. Come nightfall, I went to take a phone call outside and ended up wandering around the grounds for over an hour. When I got back to the camper, the door was locked, and I was told by my best friend's older friend through the window that there wasn't enough room for me in my trailer. So I reached for my keys to unlock the door, but I realized I'd left them inside the camper on the hook in my room. So I called my best friend from outside, and all I was told was, "Sorry bro, nothing I can do." So I ended up sleeping in my truck that night, which I'd fortunately left unlocked by accident. Their race began at 8 a.m, and at 7, they came meandering out of the trailer and woke me up. No apology, by the way. While they were in their race, I hooked my truck back up to the trailer, closed and locked everything, and waited until just after they finished and had started walking back to the trailer. Think really wide open field. When I saw them coming, I started the truck and drove off the property, with them chasing behind. I made the 3-hour trip back home, declining call after call. When I finally got home, I finally took my best friend's call. He started yelling at me, saying, "Why would you do this? We have no way home now." I just said, "Sorry, you shouldn't have made me sleep in my truck after I did you this solid." He told me that there were better ways to handle this than by leaving them in an unfamiliar city with no way home. I think he ended up calling his dad to come and get them. Is he right? Was there a better way to handle this? I felt justified until he said that. I'm kind of doubting my decision now. So, am I the butthole? Okay, look, maybe there was a better way to handle this, but I also think this was so good and so justified. You did them such a solid by driving them 3 hours there, promising to drive them 3 hours back, and giving them a place to stay for free, and they just threw it back in your face. Not even letting you sleep in your own camper. That's insane. You know what, the more I think about it, there was no better way to handle this. You did exactly the right thing. They threw it back in your face and you were out of there. Good stuff. And also, if they're Spartan warriors, then really they should be running home. You know, it's all part of the program. Am I the butthole for not giving my son part of his trust fund early because he refuses to sign a prenup with his fiance? Some background. I have 4 kids. My eldest, John, who is 27 years old, was with my first wife, who died when he was 5. I eventually remarried and got 2 stepdaughters, Lisa, who is 25, and Anne, who is 18. Then my second wife and I had Mike, who was a 13-year-old boy. My wife and I made sure to give them comfortable lives. When John and Lisa graduated from university, we gifted them condo units. We'll do the same when Anne and Mike graduate. Also, all of them have trust funds that will be released when they turn 30. I'm quite proud of my kids. John and Lisa graduated from top universities. John has a high-paying job as an engineer, while Lisa pursued a master's degree in business while she worked in marketing. Eventually, she started her own marketing consulting firm while being a part owner of a spa. John recently got engaged to his girlfriend of 2 years, and they want to get married by the end of this year. She seems nice. However, she doesn't earn as much as him. My son spends a lot of money on her, on dates and expensive gifts. I understand that it's his money and he can spend it however he wants. She's also moved in with him in the condo that I gave him, and as far as I know, she doesn't pay her share of utilities and association fees. And now, John is asking to get part of his trust fund so he can use it for the wedding, since his fiancée doesn't have much money to contribute. Now, here is where I might be the butthole. I told him I'd release part of his trust fund early if he draws up a prenup with her. He got angry and told me I was being unfair because I released half of Lisa's trust fund last year to help put up her business. He told me that I was playing favorites. I told him that Lisa did something worthwhile with her trust fund, and while a wedding is worthwhile, I told him it doesn't seem safe to use his fund for a wedding for a girl who doesn't bring much to the table. I told him that I just wanted him to have some security by drawing up a prenup. He got angrier and said I was implying that his fiancée is a gold digger. My wife and the rest of the family refused to take sides. So guys, am I the butthole? Okay, interesting one. For me, I think that you are the butthole here, OP. I'm sorry, just my opinion. Now, I do think that you're well within your rights to not give your son half of the trust fund. I think that's absolutely fine because ultimately the trust fund's been set up to be released when they're 30. They're not 30. It's your money until that point, I think. That's kind of okay in my opinion. But the reasons you've given for not giving him the money are so bad. Like the fact that you've given Lisa money for something that you think is worthwhile, but then not giving your other son money for his wedding because you're not quite sure about the woman. That's not really your call to make, I'm sorry. And also, the fact that you've said that she doesn't bring much to the table is just downright rude. Like, who really cares? It's up to John, isn't it? It's not up to you. I guess I'm saying that suggesting the prenup is okay and not giving the trust fund money early is okay, but the reasons for doing that are really rude. Am I the butthole for making sexy poses while my neighbor kept recording me for no reason? My dad passed away recently, and he left me, a 26-year-old man, and my sister, who was 31, his house. It's super unkempt, so I've been doing lots of yard work outside in the mornings. I'm out there watering the grass in the mornings and evenings. Every single time I've done this, the neighbor right next door, who's like this older granny, comes out to her porch and straight up watches me without even hiding it. I introduced myself to her once and told her that me and my sister are the new owners after my dad passed, but it was obvious that she didn't want to talk. Next thing, she started coming outside with her phone pointing the camera right at me. I'm like, is there a problem? She says there's no problem as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to. I asked her, why is she recording me then? She asked, what's the problem with her recording if I'm not doing anything wrong? It's just so freaking weird. I didn't even know how to respond in that situation. As soon as I finished up to go back inside, she went back inside her house too. And this happens every single day that I'm outside watering the grass. It's always the same excuse that she wants to make sure I'm not doing anything else, or if I do, it's on camera. So yesterday, I got fed up and decided to do something different. When she came out with her phone, I stuck my butt out and put my hand on my hip, looking right at her. At first, she was like, what the frick? But then she got really mad when I started wetting myself with the water hose and touching my neck while literally looking directly at her. Was it stupid? Yeah, but she put her phone away and started cussing me out instead for being a pervert. My sister told me later on that she came to the house when I was at work, talking about me sexually harassing her, making poses in provocative ways. My sister knows she's a pain in the butt since she probably has nothing better to do with her time, but she still says I shouldn't have stooped to her level, making her uncomfortable right back. I feel like I'm right on this one, and it wasn't even that bad. It's not like I was grabbing my balls or anything, but I also can be dumb sometimes, so I don't know. You guys tell me. Was I a butthole? Hey look, if someone's filming you without permission on your private property, then you can do whatever you want, my friend. So making silly poses, sexy poses, hey, be my guest. If anything, she's the pervert for recording you. You're just doing your own normal poses on your own land, having fun, and she's the one that's got a camera out. Who's the real pervert, Granny? Yeah? Answer me that. Am I the butthole for going home after I got told to sleep on the floor? I'll preface this by saying that my husband has a friend, Carl, who he considers to be one of his closest. My husband sometimes calls Carl his nicotine because of how much he misses him and wants to spend time with him. They do everything together. They're even co-workers, working the same job. Unfortunately, Carlos's wife passed away from cancer 3 months ago, which caused him to distance himself. My husband felt devastated for him. He recently started spending more time with him and brought him meals and new clothes. We planned a 3-day vacation to another state. I made a hotel reservation for 2. But unbeknownst to me, my husband had invited Carl to come with us. This made me upset because it spoiled the entire vacation. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I only found out when he went to pick him up. I sucked it up after my husband explained that Carl is a recent widower who's been wallowing in grief for so long and needed this vacation. The problem is money is tight, and since Carl hasn't worked ever since his wife passed, he couldn't pay for his own room, and we didn't have a budget for it. My husband said we should just share one room, and I again sucked it up, since he said we'd be out all day on the beach anyway. First night, I was in bed when my husband and Carl got back. I got woken up by my husband telling me to get out of bed and sleep on the mattress he'd put for me on the floor, and that he and Carl would take the bed. I asked if he was serious, and he asked what else is he supposed to do. He said Carl was a guest, we can't let him sleep on the floor, and at the same time, I can't share a bed with Carl while he, my husband, sleeps on the floor. I told him I didn't sign up for this, but he told me to suck it and try to pull the Carl is a widower card. I told Carl to get out, then got up and got dressed to go home. My husband started yelling at me, calling me irrational, but I wasn't having it. I left the hotel and traveled back home. Carl didn't say anything when he saw me leave, except that I was making this non-issue an issue. When they got back, my husband refused to even talk about it, but still said I ruined this for Carl and us and acted abhorrently and disgustingly. I admit Carl is struggling, and I might have ruined this for him, but I didn't even know he was coming. Okay, listen, I understand it. He is recently widowed, and that's horrible. I get that. However, there's limits to it, isn't there? And I feel bad saying this because obviously Carl is going through a lot right now. But come on, your wife's booked a holiday for you too, and you just out of nowhere bring along a +1, and then say to your wife that you have to sleep on the floor because Carl's getting the bed. Like, what? No, that's way too far. Am I the butthole for telling my husband it's time to hash things out with my mum? I know this is going to sound weird, but I'm really struggling with it. So my husband and my mum don't get on, like, at all. They fight constantly. Admittedly, mum is the one who usually starts it, but my husband also escalates and refuses to let it go every time. It's exhausting for the entire family, and they don't even fight over something worthy, they just nitpick each other's words. My husband has told me many times that the solution would be that he stops going with me over to mum's house. I refuse this, because it's not practical, nor is it fit for long term. Besides, I don't feel comfortable attending family functions by myself like I'm single. My suggestion is for him to try to ignore her at least, and he said he would try. On Mother's Day dinner, Mum noticeably started commenting on my husband's mother, implying that she hated her children and isn't proud to be a mum just because she refused to celebrate with them. My husband wanted to respond, but I whispered to him to let it go and stay calm, and he did. He still looked visibly upset, but he didn't say a word, which made me think that my solution might have worked. But I was wrong. Once we got home, he followed me to the bedroom and said, "Listen, I am never ever going back to that house ever again after all the trash your mum's done." I sighed and didn't say anything until he started throwing a fit about me watching my mum insult his and not wanting him to react. I snapped and told him he was acting childishly. He asked how, and I told him by giving out threats and saying he won't go with me to my mum's house again. He tried to make excuses, saying my mum created this situation, and he tried to put all the blame on her. I told him he's no saint either, he has his moments, and has a habit of letting things get this far. He said that I was the one who let things get this far, by not setting my mum straight. I told him his problem is with her, and that it's time that they hash things out once and for all. Just him and her. He sort of looked like I just offended him, and told me I was wrong, because this is my mum, and it's my job to put a stop to her shenanigans, and get her to understand that he was sick and tired of her BS. I told him he's an adult. Why should I defend him while he hides behind me? He was like, okay, don't get involved in the problem, but don't tell me how to deal with it. Then he walked out and stopped talking to me. He even took the couch, which made me think he was punishing me for something I didn't do. So, am I the butthole? Alright, OP, let me try and work this out quickly, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm struggling. On the one hand, you're telling your boyfriend not to argue with your mother, alright? That's clear. Then on the other hand, you're saying, why do you want me to stand up for you? It's between you and my mum. So what's he supposed to do? Just sit there and take it permanently? Have someone just in front of you abusing your mother, saying she must not love her kids because where is she? And you just sit there and take it? Like, come on, that makes no sense. I'm sorry, but if that was me in this situation, first of all, I definitely wouldn't be with someone who couldn't realize that their mum was being a massive dick. Sorry, but she really is in this spot. And then second of all, I wouldn't just sit there and take it. I mean, I would at first. Look, I'm all for being polite, but there's a limit. When someone is just abusing your mum to your face, no, I'm not going to sit there. Sorry. Yeah, OP, you're the butthole for telling your husband that he should have done that. Am I the butthole for getting upset and telling my dad his girlfriend didn't buy me a Starbucks drink? I am a 17-year-old girl, and I've been living with my dad and his girlfriend of 2 years, and her daughter, who is 13, for a couple of months now, while my mum is visiting my sick grandfather in Sweden. I've only ever stayed at my dad's on weekends before, so it's been hard getting used to living with his girlfriend and her kid full time. The kid is super whiny and pretty spoiled because my dad's girlfriend dotes on her, so I usually just stay in my room. Today, Dad's girlfriend was taking her daughter on a special outing because she passed a maths test, and my dad suggested that I go with them for a girls' day out. I wanted to say no, but I knew that he wanted me to get to know his girlfriend and girlfriend's daughter better, so I agreed. He gave his girlfriend $300 to spend during the outing. We spent the day going in and out of stores my dad's girlfriend's daughter liked in the mall complex. My dad's girlfriend ended up buying her a load of clothes, makeup, and other stuff I don't remember. On our way back home, we stopped at the Starbucks because her daughter wanted a drink and some cake pops. Dad's girlfriend ordered a drink for her and her daughter and 2 cake pops. I asked her if I could get something, and she said she ran out of money and she'd get you something next time. When they got their order, I asked if I could have one of the cake pops, and my dad's girlfriend said that it was her daughter's treat for hard work, and it would be wrong for me to take one since you didn't do anything that deserved being rewarded. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty upset. When we got home, my dad saw their drinks and asked where mine was. I told him that I wasn't allowed to get one because I don't deserve it. His girlfriend got upset and said that I was twisting her words, and her daughter just said I was being greedy and was jealous of her. Look, I know I'm not entitled to a drink or a cake pop, but I also don't think it's wrong to be a little annoyed. So, am I the butthole? OP, you are well within your rights to be annoyed here. Your dad gave his girlfriend $300 and she couldn't even afford to get you a drink at Starbucks. Yeah, that is entitlement 101. And by the way, you were entitled to a drink or a cake pop. It's your dad's money. I know he gave it to his girlfriend, but come on, you're there with them. And it's your dad. She can't get you one drink at Starbucks, are you joking? Ridiculous. You know what? I'd probably be annoyed if your dad's girlfriend didn't offer to buy you a piece of clothing at the least. You know? $300 of your dad's money, and you're not even getting a piece of clothing. On top of that, a drink? Wow. You're definitely not the butthole. That is clear to see.